The story opens with the galaxy at a point of complacency. The Viren Empire, a vast interstellar civilization, had grown arrogant and overconfident through centuries of expansion. Entire star systems had fallen under its control with little resistance, and minor species had been subjugated, absorbed, or eradicated without consequence. This sets the stage for a classic HFY contrast: humanity. An emerging species deemed insignificant appears on the galactic radar of a supreme power that has never faced a real challenge. The Empire's hubris becomes central to the narrative, because it allows the humans' ingenuity and adaptability to shine. The first significant action occurs when a Terran probe is detected near Viren space. Initially dismissed as trivial, the probe immediately intrigues the Empire because it produces anomalous readings. These signals are unlike anything Viren technology has previously encountered. The probe demonstrates two key aspects of human advantage: technological creativity and unpredictability. It exhibits energy signatures and designs for weapons that cannot be immediately understood or classified, and it transmits quantum-encoded messages that Viren decryptors cannot decipher. This establishes humanity's ability to think differently, a hallmark of HFY. Story Zand foreshadows the coming conflict by highlighting how humans disrupt the status quo of a galaxy used to linear power structures. Admiral Zykel, commander of the Viren fleet, becomes the Empire's first point of direct contact with humanity. The narrative emphasizes the contrast between the Viren's expectation and reality. The first human ship is visually and structurally unlike any Viren vessel, with a sleek and unfamiliar alloy that seems impervious to conventional scans. More importantly, the ship's tactics are incomprehensible. When fired upon, it does not retreat or shield in conventional ways, but vanishes and reappears elsewhere in orbit. This demonstration of mobility, stealth, and advanced defense technology conveys a subtle but powerful HFY message. Humans are inherently adaptable and unpredictable, which makes them formidable even with limited numbers. The human ship does not attack, but instead leaves a simple message: see you. This line is critical for several reasons. First, it conveys confidence without aggression. Highlighting human strategic awareness, they understand the importance of psychological impact. Second, it establishes a theme that runs throughout the story. Humans operate on principles that other species cannot anticipate. By sending a single statement, the humans communicate both capability and intent, making the Empire question its assumptions about dominance. The Empire, used to immediate subjugation, is unnerved by the ambiguity of this contact. At the narrative level, this first encounter serves several storytelling purposes. It introduces the core conflict, the rising threat of humanity against an established galactic power, without an outright battle. This allows the story to focus on human ingenuity and psychological superiority rather than sheer violence. It also sets up dramatic irony. The audience knows humanity is capable of far more than the Empire realizes, creating tension as readers anticipate the eventual confrontation. By highlighting the Viren's disbelief, confusion, and emerging fear, Part 1 establishes stakes that resonate throughout the story. World building is carefully woven into these events. The Viren Empire is portrayed as a galaxy-spanning civilization with advanced military and scientific resources, which makes their underestimation of humanity believable. Humanity, in contrast, is represented not through overwhelming numbers or sheer firepower, but through intelligence, adaptability, and creativity. The narrative also emphasizes humans' willingness to observe, analyze, and respond in ways the Virens cannot predict. The contrast between the two species approaches Empire as rigid. Humans as adaptive is a recurring HFY motif that underscores why humans are extraordinary. Finally, Part 1 establishes thematic foreshadowing. The humans' calm, deliberate, and enigmatic approach signals that they are not only capable of defending themselves, but will fundamentally challenge the galactic order. The Empire's first contact with Terrans, although brief, is enough to introduce a ripple of fear. doubt, and curiosity that will grow into panic and conflict. The story uses tension, contrast, and subtle hints of human superiority to set the stage for the subsequent battles, political maneuvering, and full-scale confrontations that define the rest of the volume. In summary, Part 1 is a masterclass in HFY storytelling. It demonstrates human uniqueness through creativity, adaptability, and psychological awareness. It builds suspense by highlighting the Empire's disbelief and underestimation. And it establishes a galaxy-wide setting where humans, though few in number, immediately disrupt an established order. The first encounter is short but impactful, planting the seeds of the conflict that will escalate throughout the story, and making Part 2 of the story escalates the tension by moving from observation and first contact to the first full-scale confrontation between the Viren Empire and humanity. The Viren Empire, confident in its military dominance, decides to eliminate the emerging Terran threat before humans can expand further. This decision reflects the Empire's arrogance and over-reliance on sheer firepower. Setting up a classic HFY scenario, humans are underestimated, and that underestimation becomes their advantage. The Empire dispatches a task force consisting of several battle cruisers and support vessels expecting an easy victory. Here, the story emphasizes a key contrast. The Virens rely on predictable, brute force tactics, while the humans operate with flexibility, creativity, and unpredictability. HFY stories often thrive on this juxtaposition, highlighting humanity's ingenuity against technologically superior but rigid opponents. By framing the Empire's attack as a test of conventional strength, the narrative sets the stage for humans to demonstrate their adaptive warfare capabilities. When the Viren fleet arrives in the Terran system, they are met not with overwhelming numbers, but with coordinated efficiency. Only a handful of human ships are deployed, yet they operate with near-perfect synchronization. This conveys a central HFY theme. Humans excel not because of numerical superiority, but because of intelligence, coordination, and adaptability. Each Terran ship functions like a single organism, capable of rapid decision-making, improvisation, and precise execution of complex maneuvers. These traits make the humans a force to be reckoned with despite their apparent numerical inferiority. The battle itself illustrates what technological and tactical advantage humans possess. Viren weapons designed to obliterate planets or annihilate fleets fail to penetrate Terran shields. This introduces the idea that human technology is unconventional, adaptive, and often unpredictable. Terran ships employ energy absorption techniques, quantum-based evasive maneuvers, and counterattacks that exploit weaknesses in Viren designs. Unlike the Empire, which assumes that firepower alone ensures victory, humans leverage observation, adaptability, and situational awareness. This reinforces the HFY motif that humans thrive by thinking differently outside the rigid paradigms other civilizations rely upon. Commander Kale, on the bridge of the Viren flagship, serves as the lens through which the Empire's disbelief and panic are revealed. His astonishment, "How is this possible?" captures the audience's sense of wonder and fear. Viren scientists attempt to rationalize the human's capabilities, only to find themselves consistently outmatched by human ingenuity. This moment underscores a recurring HFY narrative device. The Empire, confident in its superiority, confronts a species that challenges every assumption about warfare, technology, and intelligence. Casualty reports highlight the stark contrast between human and Viren performance. Viren fleets, used to overwhelming their opponents with numbers and firepower, suffer catastrophic losses. Human casualties are minimal, emphasizing the efficiency and strategic foresight of their forces. By presenting these details, the story reinforces the idea that humans are not just resilient, but highly effective in both offense and defense. The imbalance of losses also introduces the psychological impact on the Virens. Their pride and sense of invincibility are undermined, sowing doubt and fear within the Empire. Part 2 also serves to expand the story's world-building. The Terran ship's capabilities hint at advanced scientific understanding, including quantum propulsion and predictive targeting. These details are not merely for spectacle. They illustrate humans' adaptability and willingness to innovate, which sets them apart from the Viron's predictable, standardized approach. The contrast between conventional empire and innovative humanity reinforces HFY's core theme. Humans succeed because they leverage creativity, ingenuity, and intuition, often in ways other species cannot anticipate. Finally, this section establishes the narrative trajectory for the rest of the story. By defeating a major Imperial fleet with minimal resources, humans signal that they are not merely defending themselves, they are a strategic force capable of shaping galactic events. The Empire, humiliated and confused, begins to fear a species it previously dismissed. Setting the stage for escalating conflict, readers are left with a clear sense of stakes. The Viron Empire is under fire, and the galaxy's balance of power is being challenged in ways no one could have predicted. In summary, Part 2 emphasizes HFY themes through humanity's tactical brilliance, adaptability, and psychologica. Part 3 of the story shifts focus from direct confrontation to the broader consequences of humanity's first victory against the Viron Empire. After the initial battle, the Empire is forced to confront a reality that had seemed impossible. A species they had deemed insignificant is capable of defeating highly trained fleets using superior tactics and innovation. This section emphasizes the HFY motif of human ingenuity and psychological dominance over supposedly superior civilizations. The narrative begins with the Empire in a state of shock. News of the Viron defeat spreads across the galaxy at faster than light speeds through advanced communication networks. For the first time, whispers of fear and disbelief ripple through imperial courts, military academies, and occupied systems. The galaxy has grown accustomed to the Empire's unchallenged dominance. No species has ever caused such a disruption. By showing the Empire's panic and confusion, the story highlights a recurring HFY theme. Humans are not just fighters, they are agents of chaos and innovation, capable of upending entrenched hierarchies with intelligence and adaptability. The Viron High Council convenes emergency meetings, which provide insight into the Empire's internal structure and mindset. Advisors, generals, and scientists scramble to understand the Terran threat. Every simulation and wargame they run fails to account for human unpredictability. The story emphasizes that the Empire's downfall is not due to a lack of resources, but to cognitive rigidity they are incapable of anticipating. A species that doesn't follow conventional logic. This contrast is central to HFY storytelling. Humans succeed because they think differently, and their creativity is weaponized in ways that other civilizations cannot comprehend. Meanwhile, humans are methodical in their response. On Earth, Terran leaders study the Viron tactics, analyzing patterns, weaknesses, and vulnerabilities. They do not celebrate the victory in arrogance. Instead, they gather intelligence to prepare for future conflicts. This reflects another HFY hallmark. Humans are both adaptive and analytical, combining intuition with strategic foresight. They exploit weaknesses in logistics, communication, and morale. Recognizing that warfare is as much about understanding the opponent's psychology as it is about technology or firepower, the narrative uses this contrast to elevate humanity's intellectual and strategic superiority. The story emphasizes the psychological impact on the Empire. Viron admirals, once confident and decisive, now hesitate in their decision-making. Their rigid hierarchical structure and reliance on brute force become liabilities when faced with humans who act unpredictably and without fear. By focusing on the mental and emotional unraveling of the Empire, Part 3 demonstrates that HFY stories are not solely about physical combat. They also explore the intangible qualities that make humans formidable, such as creativity, resilience, and fearlessness in the face of overwhelming odds. As the Viron Empire grapples with this new reality, systems under their control begin to waver. Civilian populations and subordinate species, inspired by the Terrans' apparent invincibility, start to question imperial rule. Terran messages of protection and autonomy reach these systems, subtly undermining Viren authority. By combining technological superiority with psychological influence, humans begin to reshape the political landscape without direct conquest. This strategy reflects the HFY idea that humans succeed not only in combat, but also through intelligence, diplomacy, and adaptability, often achieving more with less than larger or stronger opponents. World building is enriched in this section. The Empire is shown to be vast, bureaucratic, technologically advanced, yet fragile due to its dependence on conventional tactics and centralized control. Humans, in contrast, are nimble, innovative, and decentralized in their strategic thinking. By highlighting these differences, Part 3 reinforces a core HFY theme. Human strength lies not in numbers or size, but in adaptability, creativity, and foresight. Even a small number of human ships or agents can exert disproportionate influence across the galaxy. Finally, Part 3 sets the stage for escalating conflict. The Empire is no longer merely reacting, they are scrambling to develop countermeasures, reorganize fleets, and regain lost credibility. At the same time, humans are not only defending themselves, but actively shaping the emerging war through superior intelligence, precision strikes, and strategic diplomacy. The tension created here is both immediate and long-term. Readers understand that the conflict will not be resolved by simple battles, but through ongoing psychological, technological, and tactical supremacy. In summary, Part 3 emphasizes the aftermath and ripple effects of humanity's first victory. The Empire reels, shaken by unexpected defeat, while humans capitalize on intelligence, adaptability, and foresight. The narrative explores HFY themes on multiple levels: technological superiority, creative problem-solving, strategic brilliance, and psychological impact. By showing how humans exploit both the physical and mental weaknesses of the Viren Empire, this part reinforces the central idea that humans are an extraordinary species, capable of turning the tables on even the most dominant civilizations. Part 3 deepens the stakes and prepares the narrative for the human counteroffensive that will follow in Part 4. Part 4 marks a turning point in the narrative. Transitioning from defensive engagement to proactive strategic action by humanity, up to this point, humans had reacted to Viren aggression, demonstrating tactical brilliance and defensive ingenuity. Now, the story highlights a crucial HFY theme. Humans not only survive against superior forces, but shape the battlefield and influence the galaxy through calculated, intelligent action. This part emphasizes that human strength lies not merely in brute force, but in strategic vision, adaptability, and psychological impact. After observing the Empire's weaknesses during the first assaults, Terran leaders adopt a bold strategy. Instead of simply defending their own territory, they launch a precision counteroffensive into Virent-controlled space. This is a pivotal moment in HFY storytelling because it demonstrates that humans do not operate within conventional rules. While the Virens rely on overwhelming numbers, territorial dominance, and predictable tactics, humans leverage intelligence, deception, and unconventional approaches. This contrast underscores the recurring motif that humans succeed by thinking differently and refusing to conform to standard military doctrine. The counteroffensive is executed with surgical precision. Terran fleets target weak points in Viren infrastructure, such as supply lines, communication hubs, and lightly defended orbital stations. They avoid unnecessary destruction of civilian areas, showing both discipline and strategic foresight. By striking critical points, rather than engaging in indiscriminate combat, humans maximize impact while minimizing resources. A classic HFY theme that contrasts human efficiency with the Empire's reliance on overwhelming force. Each Terran maneuver demonstrates superior situational awareness, predictive analysis, and adaptability, leaving the Empire unable to anticipate their next move. One of the most striking elements of this part is the psychological effect on the Viren forces. Soldiers and commanders, trained to fight fearlessly under the assumption of their own invincibility, find themselves facing a foe that anticipates, outmaneuvers, and outthinks them at every turn. Terran ships appear in unexpected locations. Disable critical assets before the Empire can react and retreat without suffering casualties. The Viren's inability to comprehend human tactics creates paralysis and panic. Highlighting a core HFY concept, humans excel not just through technology, but through intelligence, unpredictability, and the ability to innovate under pressure. Terran strategy also extends beyond the battlefield. Diplomacy and psychological operations play a central role. Occupied systems under Viren control receive messages directly from human leadership, offering protection and autonomy if they resist Imperial rule internally. This approach sows dissent and fractures loyalty within the Empire, amplifying the effect of the military campaign. Humanity's ability to influence political structures indirectly showcases another hallmark of HFY narratives. Humans succeed through clever, multidimensional strategies rather than raw power alone. The narrative also emphasizes human coordination and communication. Terran fleets operate as cohesive units, with ships functioning almost like extensions of a single intelligence. Orders are executed with precision. Improvisation occurs fluidly, and contingencies are anticipated in advance. This level of organization contrasts sharply with the Viren fleet, which suffers from bureaucratic rigidity and slow adaptation. HFY stories often celebrate such human qualities, portraying them as innate advantages that allow a smaller, seemingly weaker species to outmatch powerful empires. By the end of the counteroffensive, the Viren Empire is destabilized on multiple fronts. Logistics are crippled, supply lines severed, and key installations disabled. Planets under Imperial control begin to rebel, emboldened by Terran victories and protection promises. Military leaders who once commanded fearlessly are now cautious, hesitant, and reactive, showing that human action has altered not just the tactical, but the psychological and political balance of the galaxy. The Empire's authority is eroding, and the human species has established itself as a strategically dominant, unpredictable, and respected force. Part 4 also sets up narrative. Part 5 serves as the climax and resolution of Volume 1, illustrating the consequences of humanity's unprecedented success against the Viren Empire and cementing HFY themes of ingenuity, adaptability, and psychological dominance. Up to this point, humans have demonstrated tactical brilliance, technological superiority, and strategic foresight, gradually turning the tide against a galactic empire that believed itself invincible. Part 5 shows the full consequences of these actions and establishes the foundation for a larger saga. The narrative begins with the Viren Empire in full-scale disarray. Their fleets have suffered massive losses, their logistical networks are fractured, and systems under Imperial control are rebelling. The Empire's confidence, cultivated over centuries of unchallenged expansion, has been shattered. HFY stories often highlight such contrasts. Civilizations that once seemed unbeatable falter when confronted with a species that refuses to follow expected rules. Humanity's unpredictability, combined with strategic precision, has forced the Empire to question not only its military might, but the very assumptions underlying its dominance. The psychological impact of this realization is profound. Fear and doubt have replaced arrogance and certainty. Undermining morale and authority from the top down, humans, however, do not exploit this chaos through indiscriminate conquest. Instead, they leverage it to establish stability, protection, and influence, demonstrating that their power is multifaceted. Terran fleets continue surgical strikes against remaining Imperial strongholds, focusing on crippling critical infrastructure rather than annihilating populations. In parallel, human diplomats contact occupied worlds directly, offering protection in exchange for cooperation and self-governance. This dual-approach military efficiency, combined with strategic diplomacy, underscores a recurring HFY theme. Humans succeed not solely through force, but through intelligence, adaptability, and foresight. They reshape the galaxy not by ruling it outright, but by creating conditions in which their principles and strategies become dominant. The Empire's response is fragmented. Some factions advocate surrender, while others cling to pride and demand further resistance. However, these voices are undermined by the human-led uprisings, the destruction of supply lines, and repeated tactical defeats. The narrative emphasizes that humans have done more than win battles. They have altered the psychological, political landscape of the galaxy. By demonstrating that conventional power is no longer absolute, humans force every species, ally, and enemy alike to reconsider what true strength means. The Empire, previously a symbol of ultimate authority, is now a cautionary tale of overconfidence and rigidity. A key element of Part 5 is the demonstration of humanity's long-term strategic vision. Terran leadership understands that victory is not measured solely in destroyed fleets, but in shaping the future balance of power. By carefully selecting where and how to intervene, humans prevent unnecessary bloodshed while ensuring that their influence remains decisive. HFY narratives often highlight this dimension of humanity. Humans combine intellect, foresight, and adaptability in ways that far exceed brute strength. Their actions are deliberate, precise, and psychologically impactful, ensuring that their victories resonate far beyond the immediate battlefield. The narrative also explores the human factor in warfare and diplomacy. Humans inspire, intimidate, and reshape expectations simultaneously. Across the galaxy, species that once obeyed the Empire begin to see possibilities for autonomy and self-determination. Military leaders who had believed in the invincibility of the Virans now confront an uncomfortable truth. Even a technologically superior empire can be outmaneuvered by a species capable of ingenuity, risk-taking, and rapid adaptation. This establishes a broader HFY principle. Human potential is amplified not by technology alone, but by creativity, resilience, and unpredictability. By the conclusion of Part 5, humanity has achieved a transformative impact. The Viran Empire remains, but its power is fractured and demoralized. Its reputation as an unstoppable force is permanently tarnished. Humans have not only defended themselves, but have redefined the rules of galactic power, showing that even a small, resource-limited species can challenge, reshape, and dominate through superior strategy and adaptability. This resolution reinforces the HFY core idea. Humans are extraordinary because they innovate, adapt, and persevere where others rely on assumptions, hierarchies, and brute force. The volume closes with a sense of anticipation. While humans have not conquered the galaxy outright, they have irrevocably changed it. The stage is set for future conflicts, alliances, and innovations. The galaxy now knows that humans are a force to be reckoned with, not just because of their technology or numbers, but because of the unique combination of intelligence, adaptability, and audacity they bring to every challenge. The story leaves readers with the central HFY message: humanity is a species capable of rewriting the rules of war, diplomacy, and survival, and the true extent of their potential is only beginning to be realized. In summary, Part 5 emphasizes the transformative consequences of human ingenuity. Through strategic precision, psychological impact, and visionary foresight, humans have destabilized the Viran Empire, empowered oppressed systems, and redefined the galactic balance of power. The narrative highlights that humans succeed not through sheer strength alone, but through creativity, adaptability, and audacity, core themes that resonate deeply in HFY storytelling. Volume 1 concludes with the galaxy fundamentally changed and the promise of even greater human influence in the stories to come, if you want. I can also create 5 highly detailed image prompts for each part of this story, perfect for illustrations, YouTube thumbnails, or promotional artwork. Do you want me to do that next?